welcome back, and welcome back to this very busy trade deadline season for our New York Mets. And tonight, the Mets have finalized a deal to send Mad Max to the Texas Rangers. So I got a lot of comments on that. And you know what? I was pleasantly surprised with the package. I was pleasantly surprised with the return. Usually I'm not. And you know what? You're probably thinking, Billy Epler did a good job on this trade. But I'm going to get to why I can't give him that much credit at all. So we're going to get to that. Also, we're going to get to the Mets have been signaled. David Robinson, you know what? It could have been a one-off. But the Mets have definitely signaled to the rest of the league, we are open for business and everybody is on the table. So what does that mean for the team now and in the future? Because their philosophy has 100% shifted and there is no doubt about it. Then I want to go over the return. What did the Mets get back and how valuable is it? Is it just me or the Mets, they love getting shortstops and catchers? What about some pitching? So we're going to get into that as well. Okay, so first, I'm going to give you my reaction. I actually did a video earlier, and it was about how disgusted I was at Billy Epler and his ineptitude of trading for players. I felt that he could have got a better return at Robertson. That's my opinion. I appreciate in the comment section on my last video that I had a lot of good feedback and a lot of different perspectives telling me why the Mets did a good job. And I respect that. I really do. And, it makes a lot of sense. It's just really, in the last couple of years, Billy Epler's trade history really upsets me. It really does. So maybe that sours me in trades going forward. It just may be me. I just may be biased against him. Okay, so earlier this day, I also spoke about how Scherzer was extremely dissatisfied last night. He had all the nerve in the world, and he was talking about how he was really got to talk to the front office, the brass. I got to see which way the team's going. And, to me, I was like, enough with this guy. He's the reason. One of the big reasons why the Mets are where they are. And this guy's kind of like putting himself on a pedestal like, you know what? Send me to a winner now. Send me to a winner. Okay, you're going to a winner. You're going to a good place. Good riddance. Good riddance. But beyond that, another thing that was spoken about was last night, Max Scherzer was supposedly speaking to the front office brass. Did that spur the Mets to instantaneously trade him away? Was it? Did it happen that quickly? Well, I saw a couple of news media outlets, and that's how they reacted. They said, Max must have got his way, and the Mets traded him right away. But according to Andy Martino, this trade has been in the work for days. So that actually is a bit kind of like, I found that interesting because Max Scherzer last night didn't know what the heck was going on, yet he was being bandied about in trades for days. So I found that interesting considering the Mets needed his approval to send him elsewhere, but it is what it is. It was a deal that was in the works for days, so it was a bit complex. The Mets are eating a big chunk of Max Scherzer's contract. That's why they are getting a really good young prospect. A really good young prospect, Luis Angel Acuna. This is Ronald Acuna's little brother. And I gotta say, I'm a big Braves admirer because I see what they do. I have to admire it because they are building a team with a great core, a great foundation for now and in the future, right? So to get a guy who is kind of like related to the Braves in some way or another, their superstar Ronald Acuna, his little brother, and his little brother, not only does he have the name, but he has the tools too. He really does. I know he's a bit smaller. He has a bit smaller frame, and I heard some comparisons to Ozzie Albies, but right now, although Luis Angel Acuna is a bit smaller height-wise than his brother, he does have a bigger frame than Ozzie Albies. So I expect a more dynamic player than Ozzie Albies. And nothing against Ozzie Albies. I love him. I think he's a great player. When he was out last year for the Braves, I saw a big drop in overall team play, so I know he has a big impact on winning on that Braves team. So Ozzie Albies, great player, great player. I'm just saying he's a different sort of player. Ozzie Albies, I think the most he stole is like 20-something bases. Like Ronald Acuna and Luis Angel Acuna, these guys can steal 40 bases. It seems like Luis can pop 20 to 25 home runs. He has a great hit tool. If you look at his swing is so explosive and dynamic. He keeps the bat level. He's got a quick swing to the ball, and I see a lot of good things going forward. He's got a good head on his shoulders. He's a smart player. So I really do like the fact that we got this player for Max Scherzer. And Max Scherzer, I didn't think we could get really anything for him. I know we ate a lot of the contract, but I saw him more as like a garbage player. I've been looking at Max Scherzer's numbers in depth because I'm trying to figure out what the heck happened with this guy. And I noticed a significant drop-off this year in many significant factors, right? Okay, yeah, he could have these games when he looks brilliant, but we notice a lot of inconsistency with Max this year. A lot of inconsistency. I wish him well. He's not in the New York Mets anymore. I wish him and I wish Jacob deGrom all the best. Texas Rangers, great job. The team looks like they got a great farm system, a great team on the field, and who knows, putting Max in a different scenario. He's also pitching in, I would say, more consistent, warmer, drier climate. I definitely warmer. I'm not so sure if it's drier. I know Texas is a bit warmer than New York, especially going into September and October. So that should benefit Max. But when I dive into his advanced numbers this year, he's not getting the swing and misses he was getting last year and his rest of his career. He was always in the 90th percentile. This year, he's in the 50th percentile. His hard hit ratio that batters hit off him has gone through the roof. People are hitting the ball hard off Max. Max never had that in his career. He always had a lot of swing and misses. He always had soft contact, and this year has not been that case. I don't know if it has anything to do with when they checked Max Scherzer early in the year and there was substance on his hands. I don't know, but I do know when you dive into his numbers, there is a significant difference. You can see it in the ERA. He's got a 4 earner run average, and he's a different pitcher now than last year. So good luck to him. I was glad we were able to capitalize on that return and get such a young, promising prospect. It looks like this prospect, Acuna, is going to be ranked number 1 in our system. Number 1 in our system. And our system is bereft of young superstar talent. Kevin Parada was our number 1 prospect. And you know what? I have to see what Parada does. I'm not so high on him. I don't know. Maybe it's because I like Alvarez a bit more. Kevin Parada has to prove it to me. Plus, we have been notoriously collecting catchers in the last 2 years. I don't know what it is. I know it's a very valuable position, so I don't know if they were planning on making a trade. Also, we've been collecting shortstops. Jet Williams, Ronnie Mauricio. Obviously, we have Francisco Lindor in the major league. Now we have Luis Angel Acuna. Sorry, I keep butchering that. He's a shortstop / second baseman. So those are the 2 positions where we are good. We're good. We're stocked at that now. So please, in the rest of these trades, acquire pitching. We need pitching. We are going. It doesn't matter who we have on the offense. If we don't have pitching, we will not be World Series contenders. Bottom line, I was hoping the Texas Rangers have a couple good, young, solid starters in their minor leagues, and I was hoping to acquire one of them, even a lower level one. If you wanted to get Acuna and a lower level pitcher that you felt had good upside, I was hoping that we can get something like that, but we have to acquire pitching. You see, this is why we're getting value back for our pitchers, because good pitching is scarce. It is scarce, right? Okay, so what does this mean going forward? What does it mean? So the Mets have changed their whole trajectory, as I mentioned in the beginning of the video. We will always win now. And not only win now, win right now. We will spend $40 million for a 40-year-old old man to win now. So our philosophy has shifted to a 2 to 3 year approach. That doesn't necessarily mean we're not going to spend next year, but it means that we're not going to spend $45 million on a player right now. No, we're going to be smart. We're going to be wise. We're going to be prudent. It does scare the crap out of me that Billy Epler is the one making these decisions, but the fact that they've sat down and figured out the error of their ways sits well with me. It should sit well with you as well, because if spending $300-400 million was the way to win a World Series, believe me, there's plenty of billionaires who own these franchise teams. It would have been done, and there's been so much evidence that spending money does not necessarily make you a contender. It could actually make you big losers and set you back. If the Mets decided to go for it and not trade off some of these impending free agents or older pitchers, if you don't get anything for Robertson, you're not going to stockpile your farm system. You're not going to collect talent. The Mets are collecting talent. They're looking now and in the future. Next year, Acuna could be up. The guys who they acquired in the Robertson trade, those guys are a little further down the line. Nonetheless, they are very talented. And if you look at it right now, the Mets just got 2 guys to add to their top 10. MLB Pipeline projects Acuna to be their number 1 prospect. Vargas, who they acquired in the Robertson deal, is their number 6 prospect. I mean, look at that. Our team, our farm system had no one. Okay, so now in the future, we still plan on winning. We still plan on spending money. But now we don't mind trading off guys who are going to be free agents, guys who aren't helping the team really for next year and beyond. We already gave up, even though we didn't technically, the team's not going to say we're giving up in the season, but the internal philosophy is this season isn't as important as winning as it is in the future. Okay, so now we're going to focus on 2024 and beyond. Now, this doesn't necessarily take us out of Shohei Ohtani. Shohei Ohtani doesn't look like he's going to be traded, and I know Shohei Ohtani has said that he wants to go to a winner, so it may be 100% impossible for him to come to the New York Mets, but you never know. If you throw $600 million at him, and that's the highest offer by $100 million, you just never know. Now put Shohei Ohtani, Pete Alonso, Acuna, let's say he comes on, Francisco Alvarez is a guy who can hit 30 home runs behind the plate. Let's say Brett Beatty comes on. Mauricio is like as hot as he in the minor leagues. He's as hot as he in the majors. Then your lineup is starting to look very dynamic, very young, and very exciting. So that is something I'm looking forward to. It's just that we have to get pitching. Blade Tidwell is a guy who he's one of our young promising pitchers. He's our 5th ranked prospect, and he has been pitching well, but we don't have enough minor league pitching. Another young pitcher in our minor leagues who's pitching well as of late is Christian Scott. He's actually a 28th ranked prospect, but other than those 2 guys, haven't been many guys. Mike Vassell's another guy who's looked decent as of late, but we got to really stockpile these young arms. You cannot have enough. If you want to stockpile pitchers, that's fine. If you want to have 10 catchers, I mean, I don't see the logic in that. I really don't. Okay, so we're going to look toward the future, and guys like Shohei Ohtani, I believe, are still on the table. That's my opinion. And I want to comment, everybody's wondering what the heck is happening with Justin Verlander. Will we look to deal Justin Verlander? So I think by trading Max Scherzer away and getting a return like Luis Angel Acuna, who's a top prospect, I feel that raises the value of Verlander tenfold. Verlander in the last 7 games, I believe he's got like a 2 earner in average, and he's pitching like almost last year. He's coming off a Cy Young Award winning performance. Obviously, he won the Cy Young Award last year, and he's really almost mimicking that in his last 7 games. So he's only boosting his trade value, which is great. Also, you have control of him for the next couple years, so you're not just buying him out for 2 months. There is a lot more value with Justin Verlander. The pedigree is there. The guy's a winner. He's won a couple times in Houston. He's a leader. I really think that if the Mets do decide to let him go, and it looks like it depends on Justin. Justin has to agree to this. It's going to be on him. And if they do decide to, the value has gone up. I think that it's 50-50 right now. The Mets need somebody to build their rotation around. And since he does have control, since the Mets potentially could have him for 2.5 more years, it is enticing to keep him. It's just that philosophy of paying guys 40-something years old and knowing that he is an older guy who could get injured easy, or you could miss him next year and potentially get nothing if he gets hurt. That always lies out there. Plus, the Mets know they're not going for the World Series this year. So I think it's a 50-50 chance, and if the Mets do decide to trade him, the value has gone way up, way up. So you can capitalize tremendously on that value. So, okay, so now the last part of the video, let's break down Luis Angel Acuna, and let's see like what type of tools he has. And I'm very interested to look at like some stats. I was pulling up some stats recently. And like I said, he doesn't have the power that his brother does, but I think that this guy has a very dynamic, like I said, level powered swing, and he could develop that power over time. He's only 21 years old. He stands 5'8" at 181 pounds. He is a righty bat. He throws righty. Like I mentioned, he's a shortstop / second baseman. His estimated time of arrival for the major leagues is sometime next year. So it looks like he's close to the major leagues. His scouting grades. Okay, so as always, the scouting grades are graded out of 80. So the 80 is the highest you can get. So the hit tool, they gave Acuna 55, power 50, run tool 55, arm 55, field 55, overall 55. Now, those are decent grades, and it would rank Acuna as their #1 prospect. So Acuna was an international free agent. He was signed in 2018. Luis Angel might not have his older brother's superstar ceiling, but he does have the potential for solid tools across the board. Acuna attacks pitchers with an explosive with an explosive right-handed stroke and an aggressive approach. He'll draw his share of walks and doesn't strike out excessively, but he chases and swings and misses too frequently against non-fastballs and doesn't always make quality contact. If he can settle down a bit and drive the ball in the air on a more regular basis, he could be a consistent 270 hitter and be a consistently hit 20 or more home run. So this, I believe, this scouting report it looks like it's about a year old. So, I mean, this is typical of young guys, especially a guy like him with all the hype and talent in the world. You're aggressive at the plate. You're not as disciplined. It doesn't seem like this guy is as disciplined as a guy like Vargas, who we acquired in our last trade, but he seems like he's got just as much upside plus more. He was ranked number 43 on MLB's pipeline for top 100 prospects, so that's pretty impressive. He was ranked the Texas Rangers' 3rd best prospect overall, so those are pretty good things. So combining solid speed with savvy on the bases, Acuna has swiped 84 bags in 104 attempts during the past 2 seasons. Early in his career, he faced some questions about his ability to remain at shortstop, but he has shown that he has a solid range and arm to do so. Corey Seager's arrival in Texas in 2022 okay, so they're saying that if he stayed up, that he would have to switch to a different position if he stayed in Texas. So now let's look at some of the stats. In 2023, Acuna has a 315 average, a 377 on base, 453 slug, 830 OPS in 84 games. Not bad at all. He scored 68 runs, 114 hits, 25 doubles, 2 triples, 7 home runs, 51 RBIs, 37 walks, 76 Ks, and 42 stolen bases. So those are pretty impressive numbers. Really impressive numbers. I mean, bottom line, we have a dynamic player right now. A dynamic player with all the potential in the world. So Billy Epler had to give a whole lot of money to pull off this trade, so he's not on a level. I look at this trade as, yes, positive, we got a good return, but we had to do things that are unprecedented. Usually, it's very rare that teams pay so much money in every single trade. Like Steve Cohen is like, oh my God, Billy, how much is this going to cost me now? But as a Met fan, I'm happy about this return. I really am. I really am. I really am. I'm excited to see what the next couple trades happen. If Justin Verlander goes, like I said, the package should be tenfold. You got other guys we could trade. Brooks Raley, Adam Ottavino. The other day, I said 10 guys should go. Maybe possibly as high as 13. Also, guys like Jeff McNeil, no one is safe. Anybody could go at any given time. The door is open. The door is swung wide open for any team to demand any player if they want to pay up. He's yours. You want the batting champion, the squirrel? Pay up for him. He's yours. So I don't think guys like Nimmo, obviously, I know guys like Nimmo, Alvarez, obviously the young guys, they're obviously off the table, and Pete Alonso, those guys aren't going. That is your core. That is who we're going to build around. I wish we had a core of young pitchers, but we don't. You know, potentially maybe we sign a guy like Blake Snell in the offseason. Hopefully we find pitchers in other ways. I'm worried about pitching. I honestly am. I'm going to do a lot more research on a potential rotation, and it's basically going to give us a lot more clarity of who we end up after this 2023 trade deadline. So that's what I have for you now. Thank you so much if you made it to the end of the video. I apologize about the earlier video. I literally made the video when I heard that there was a rumor that Scherzer would go. And at the time, it was just a rumor. I saw it from like Bob Nightingale. And I was thinking, okay, maybe the trade will go through the next day or Monday. But literally, I submitted, I processed the video. The video went live. And then all of a sudden, all the final reports came out that Scherzer is officially traded. And I'm like, oh, no, I just put out a video. And the video didn't say he got traded. It said he might get traded. So I'm like, oh, damn, the flag starts to go down. All right, so that means we got to close out a video right now. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you. Please like, please subscribe if you like anything in the video or like the content. You know, I can't say thank you enough. Let's go Mets. I'm excited to see how this second half goes. Play the kids, develop your young talent, see who. We don't know. We don't know some of these guys, how they're going to perform in new positions, new roles, and some guys we're just unfamiliar with at all. Ronnie Mauricio, I need to see him in the major leagues ASAP. ASAP. All right. Thank you again. Like I always say, can't get any worse, but it probably will. But you know what? At least it getting this bad has led us to some of these great prospects. So good news there. Have a great night. Talk to you soon.